dangerous for menopausal women, or as somebody put it, a huge no-no? Well, I've had this comment recently on my YouTube channel from Doris Silver, and she makes a really great point. She says, HIIT for women over 40. I have seen a number of trainers on YouTube say that this is an absolute no-no because of raised cortisol levels. Please help us understand. You look amazing. Well, I'm going to get into it in this video. Hello fam, and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal, and this channel is all about helping you if you're a woman over 40 or like me over 50, get in amazing shape. And as well as strength training and as well as walking, one of the things that I promote an awful lot of is high intensity interval training. And there is a lot of conflicting information online about high intensity interval training and whether it's suitable for menopausal women. Some people might even say dangerous for menopausal women. So I'm going to get into all the pros and cons of high intensity interval training and the link to cortisol. So by the end of this video, you can make up your mind whether it's the right course of action for you or whether you're going to completely ditch it altogether. Now, I have to say, my personal experience of high intensity interval training is absolutely fantastic. I've got amazing results by combining that with lifting weights, but I don't do a massive amount of it, and I'm going to talk about it in this video because I do think you can probably do too much of it. You can have too much of a good thing, in other words. First of all, I'm going to talk about what high intensity interval training is, and then we're going to get into cortisol. So high intensity interval training is short bursts of intense activity. You can do it on any piece of equipment. I often do it as a sort of military style fitness workout. You know, I might do kettlebell swings, battle ropes, that type of thing. Or you could use a rowing machine, a bike. You could even do sprint intervals. So there's no like best way of doing it. There's just kind of lots of alternatives, which makes it very interesting and exciting to do because you can kind of really vary it up. But it's when you do short bursts of intense activity, so it might be 20 to 30 seconds, absolutely flat out, and then you rest for a minute to 2 minutes doing kind of walking pace. That's what it is. I only recommend kind of 20 minutes, and for somebody just starting out, I would recommend as little as 10 minutes actually, if you don't do any at all at the moment, because you're going to get a lot out of doing 10 minutes, believe it or not. So I'm going to talk about cortisol. What is cortisol? Cortisol is our nervous system's response to danger, and it's going to cause us to get our energy levels raised, which historically we might have needed, and now not so much anymore. However, it's not just intense activity that can cause cortisol. It could be stress. It could be kind of lack of sleep. It could be like loads of technology and loads of kind of overstimulation can also cause cortisol levels to rise. So what about HIIT and cortisol? What is the connection? So yes, of course, high intensity interval training can cause your cortisol levels to rise, and in fact will cause your cortisol levels to rise. But in the normal scheme of things, they're going to, at some point, they're going to sort of drop back down, aren't they? So as your legs start pedaling, or maybe you're rowing, what's going to happen is the cortisol is going to kick in to give you that extra burst of energy. And that's what cortisol's job is. Can you have too much cortisol? Absolutely, yes, you can have too much cortisol, but it's not necessarily, as I've just discussed, caused by HIIT alone. It could be caused by a number of other factors. And what I would say is I've seen 9,000 women through all my programs, and I coach women directly, most of whom are going to do some kind of high intensity interval training. So women that have gone through or are going through menopause are using this to great effect in my programs. And yes, they will have raised cortisol levels. And these are some of the signs that you have too much cortisol or you're overtraining. Chronic fatigue, that is a massive one. Muscle fatigue, lack of motivation, changes in your sleep pattern, feelings of anxiety, and a really poor immune system, so you're getting sick all the time. If you've got any of those, it could be that your cortisol levels are raised too much or you are overtraining. So is HIIT safe during menopause? Absolutely yes, it is. Because as I've said, I see so many women using this to great effect, including myself. I dropped an enormous amount of fat and transformed my body with the use of high intensity interval training and lifting weights. That's really important. You do need to be lifting weights as well. However, you want to do it in small amounts. I mean, currently I'm doing one 45-minute session per week. If I'm wanting to burn some more fat, I might do it 2-3 times a week, maybe even 4 times a week. Not much more than that. And certainly you wouldn't be wanting to do it every single day. So you always want to, as a menopausal woman, incorporate rest days into your regimen. That is really important because our bodies need to not only rest, to bring the cortisol levels down that we're talking about. Generally, letting your body recover will mean that you get way better results. So you want to keep those down to short sessions as well. If you're going to do high intensity interval training, it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Yes, I do 45 minutes, but it's only one time a week that I'm doing that 45-minute session. And if you think about that, a lot of the time it's actually resting rather than actually working during that session, because you're going to have periods of rest time. I would also add that the North American Menopause Society in 2019 carried out a study on high intensity interval training, and not only did they find it to be perfectly safe for women over 40 and around the time of menopause, they actually found it to be more effective at burning fat than steady state cardio. So that's the beauty of it. It can be more effective. People that I don't think it's suitable for, maybe you've got a list of those symptoms of overtraining or high cortisol that I talked about. It's probably not suitable for you. Do you have an autoimmune disease? So if you have an autoimmune disease, you're actually going to have a lot of inflammation in your body, and high intensity interval training may make that worse. So people with things like Hashimoto's, also if you have hypothyroidism, that might be the time, because again, you're going to have a lot of inflammation in your body, to actually ditch high intensity interval training and do walking instead. Walking is absolutely fantastic, and it's something that I always recommend to women over 40, is getting in tons of walking, because you can hopefully do lots of that without raising your cortisol levels. So if you're looking to increase your activity levels, sometimes it's actually better to actually just increase your step count and stick to the short amounts of high intensity interval training and not up them too much. So I hope that kind of clears things up for you about high intensity interval training. Many women around the time of menopause can do this completely safely, but obviously if you fit into one of those categories that I've talked about, where you've got signs of raised cortisol levels, you've got hypothyroidism or an autoimmune disease, you may want to cut back on it or not do it at all and in favour of walking. Let me know in the comments section how you've been getting on with high intensity interval training and whether you found it's not any good for you, or maybe you've gotten, like me, really great results from it.